It's no secret that Coming to Black Ops 6 is a guided mode for all zombies Easter eggs a few weeks after the map's been initially solved. However, it's been quite the controversy in the community for the last few weeks leading up to launch, and I wanted to go over some pros and cons that may determine or help determine whether or not this is going to be a good or bad thing for the game. Now, these are just my opinions, and if you have different ones, let me know down in the comment section below. I would love to hear them. The reason that this is coming out is because only 5% of the player base completed Die Maschine at launch, and even less than that completed the successive DLCs. And they're trying to get more people engaged in the zombies mode, which is something that I think is a great thing that they're trying to do. But whether or not it's going to work is going to depend on how this is rolled out and how it is handled. So, without further ado, let's start with the pros that I see in this guided zombies mode coming out. And the first one being that new players are going to be completing Easter eggs. This is pretty important to the zombies community for a couple of reasons, and the biggest one being that the more people that are playing zombies and the more people that are engaged with the story and doing these Easter eggs, the more likely that we're going to get round-based classic zombies going forward. It's something that Call of Duty wants to see people playing, but people haven't been playing over the last few years, so they're really trying to get new players into the mode. On top of that, I mean, we would love to bring more people into the community and get more people psyched on zombies, just like the rest of us. Of course, if you're watching this video, there's a good chance you're already a hardcore zombies fan. Shout out to you. That's awesome. I am as well. That's why I'm making this. I love zombies, and I would love to see new people come in and enjoy the mode the way that we got to growing up. So new players completing Easter eggs is going to be pretty important, and it's really, I would say, the main goal that they're trying to achieve with this guided mode. However, there's issues with it, and we'll get to the cons in a little bit. So going on to the second pro, it does look like this could end up creating new world records, and I know that sounds a little weird, but in watching the COD podcast, when they talked about this guided mode and what it's going to do and how it's going to work, one of the tidbits of information that they gave us is that the Easter eggs themselves are going to be round locked based on the step that you're on. Now, whether or not that means you can continually farm points and get, 10,000 points on round one, because there's an Easter egg step of turning on the power on round one or something like that, we don't really know at the moment. But if that is something that's possible, 10,000 points on round one, if there's no significant soul box steps that are not locked on round one, and you can do the Easter egg ahead of the rounds because you have so many points, it could, potentially be that somebody completes the Easter egg on round one, which would be really cool. I think it would create some new opportunities for some new gameplay that we haven't seen in the past, and some fun things that the community can do, and world records that people could get by playing the game like this. Yes, I think it'll be weird. Yes, I don't really have hopes that they're going to allow you to farm to 10,000 points on round one. I don't really see that being the case, but if it was, that would be pretty cool, considering that, if you don't complete an Easter egg step on round one, that round is going to start over essentially. Now, is it a full start over where you start back from where you were on that round? We'll just have to wait and see on that. But if it is that you can just keep cycling round one without doing the first Easter egg step and farming points and all of these things, there could be some really cool stuff with that. So going on to the next one, it is new. I mean, Zombies has been looking for new things for a long time, and I think that them bringing new content to Zombies and the creative space of Zombies is a good thing. Whether or not that this mode itself is going to be a good thing, we'll have to wait and see on that. But it is new. It is an innovation that Treyarch's never done in the past, and it is a way to try and get new people into the mode, which is all good things. On to the next, we have allowing players to follow the story a little bit more. Now, I know that it's kind of difficult when you're running through a round of zombies to really focus on things like the radios or intel pickups and various things like that. As a standard casual player, you're going to run into a radio, trigger it, maybe by accident, and have a bunch of zombies on you, and it's going to be really hard to follow the narrative of the story. Whereas I think in this mode, you're going to have a lot more time and opportunity to really follow along what's going on in the story, which could be a benefit. I mean, it could also lead to some other things that we're going to talk about in the pros section, but I think that round locking certain steps and forcing people to go through them is going to be a good way for people to actually follow along with what's happening in the story rather than being worried about everything else going on in the map, like getting chased by zombies and megatons and any other special enemy types that are in the mode. This should help people follow along a little bit better, which is a good thing. Next, it could be better for narrative in general. Again, this kind of follows along with the same point of allowing players to follow the story a little bit more. I think that the narrative could be more of a focus. Since guided mode is going to be an option, they may force dialogue on you so that you can follow the narrative. They may have you even interact with radios so that you can understand better what's going on. And I think it could be better for the narrative in general. It could be that YouTubers are capable of using this as a tool as well when creating tutorials or when creating narrative deep dives. So I think that could be a benefit. And going into the next one, I think that it's going to clear up a lot of the confusion when creating tutorials and when making guides on the Easter eggs. Because as we complete these, a lot of the times we're going to run into side quest steps and figure that those are going to be part of the main quest because the side quest may have triggered something for the main quest or, something along those lines. We've seen it in the past where people are going through and solving the Easter egg and they have an additional step in their guide that actually wasn't really used for the Easter egg at all, or could be totally done out of order than Treyarch is intending for us to solve the Easter egg. And knowing that the guided mode is going to give us only the steps that we need for the main quest, it should clear up a lot of the confusion that we have during the initial hunt and help solve some of the problems that guides are going to have up front. And I think that could be a pro. I think it could definitely be helpful to understand that a little bit better. So going to the next one, I think this could lead to maybe better YouTube tutorials. Playing this in guided mode and creating your tutorial in a guided mode could be a way to clear up a lot of the confusion with the tutorials. You're going to have a lot more time to focus. And again, it's going to remove any unnecessary steps or things that we think are steps, maybe help the order of how you should be doing things in your games to get things done at the earliest round and maybe the easiest round. So I think that it could be better for YouTube tutorials. Granted, these do not come out until a couple weeks after the fact, but it could clear up some confusion and help make the tutorials on YouTube be a little bit more concise. I think a lot of the hardcore community is going to stick with YouTube as far as figuring out the Easter egg steps, especially once they've been solved. I mean, going to a Milo guide is going to be better, in my opinion, than playing the guided mode a couple weeks later. I'm going to want to get the Easter egg done as soon as it's solved. And finally, for pros, we have more than a 5% completion rate. Again, this goes back to the very beginning of the video where we talked about, D Machine having a 5% completion rate and the other maps for Cold War having an even lower completion rate of Easter eggs. That's 5% of the entire player base that played zombies are the only ones that completed the Easter eggs in that game, which is kind of incredible considering, the Easter eggs in that game were pretty easy. Probably means that some of the other games, especially Black Ops 4, it's probably way less than 5% completed any of the Easter eggs. So if we got up to like 25 or 30% because of the guided mode, I think it's going to be a benefit, and I think it will definitely help Treyarch be able to push the zombies narrative. And I really think that if zombies is not successful soon, that we're going to stop seeing it in the game. I mean, they did a test with removing campaign in Black Ops 4. Obviously, the community didn't really love that, and they went back to creating them. But I think that we could see an end to the zombies mode if people aren't playing it and people aren't completing the Easter eggs. at the end of the day, Treyarch works for Activision and the goal is to make money. And if Zombies is not contributing to that, they're not going to continue it. So if we can up that completion rate to like 30% through the guided mode, I think Treyarch will see it as a success and something that they need to continue. And it would be a success because we would be able to keep playing Zombies. So that's what I have for pros. And we are now going to go over to the cons that I have, going over some of the issues that the game could have because of this mode. They're pretty concerning, and I'm a little worried about what's going to happen with this. And over on our first one, we're going to have too much hand-holding. Now, one of the things that got me into Zombies from the very beginning was that it wasn't easy, especially finding out that there are main quest Easter eggs that you have to do, several steps throughout each match to complete the Easter egg and get the cutscene and get a little bit more in depth on the story. Like figuring that out and the hardships that it is to actually complete it legitimately is one of the reasons I kept coming back to Zombies, because it is so much fun to get better at the game and to come up with new strategies to complete the Easter eggs and all of these things. And I just feel like a new Zombies player isn't going to enjoy the standard Zombies mode if their only experience solving an Easter egg is while being handheld by Treyarch and told how to do exactly everything with locked rounds. I mean, looking at it from an objective angle, if you're a player who's interested in Zombies and then you play a version where they just walk you through the map and tell you how to do everything and make it the easiest possible experience, like, why would you come back and play the actual experience? It doesn't really make any sense to me from that standpoint. If I was in that position and Zombies was my first experience was being walked through how to do everything, there's no point in me really playing it because there's no challenge. And people that get into Zombies and become hardcore fans of the mode like it because it is challenging. So I think that there may or may not be too much handholding with this. Again, time will tell as we see this guided mode come out after the Easter eggs have been solved. But I don't think that this is for the benefit of the player. Now, this is arguably the biggest one. It's data mining. Data mining has been an issue in Call of Duty since the very beginning. People have always gone through the game files and found different things that they could leak. We had ending cutscenes leaked. We had Easter egg steps leaked. We had perk jingles leaked. We had pretty much anything that you can think of was leaked. There was leaked gameplay of Black Ops 3 like a week before launch because it had launched early in a Middle Eastern country. And so there was gameplay of Shadows of Evil recorded on cell phones that was being leaked everywhere. And leaking information leads to the Easter eggs being solved by people who didn't put in the work to solve them. Now, the biggest concern with this is that the information that is in this guided mode is a step-by-step guide on solving the Easter egg. A lot of us in the hardcore community love the Easter egg race. We love following along and trying to complete it first in the world. But if there's a step-by-step guide walkthrough that gets leaked the day of launch, and you have essentially a text explaining exactly what you're going to do and what's needed to do to complete the main quest Easter egg, it's going to ruin, the fun of the mode. It's going to ruin essentially the best couple days in the mode for Zombies players. I mean, anytime a map comes out, I'm head over heels for the Easter egg race and watching it all unfold and participating and trying to solve steps that everybody's stuck on. And with all this data being put into the game, they really need to have some strong security on this. I mean, Treyarch's had so many issues in the past with actually dealing with data mining and not having things get leaked. It's really hard for me to put trust that they're not going to get the entire Easter egg solution leaked on day one. But again, time is going to tell with this. I know that they've talked about having better security for data mining, but I think if this data is in the game at launch before the maps are even dropped, we're going to have the Easter eggs complete in the first 5 hours. because somebody's going to leak all of the information of exactly what you need to do from step A to step Z on completing the Easter egg, which is really unfortunate. Next, we have that this is not an available option at launch. And this really could fit in both categories. If this was available at launch, I'd have a lot more issues with this being a thing, because then there would be no Easter egg race. You just quickly run through the guided mode and solve the Easter egg. You'd have a tutorial up, and there would be nothing for the hardcore community to actually grind for. Now, the reason that I'm putting this under the cons section on this is this not being available at launch is going to make it really hard for a playlist update to bring people from multiplayer and Warzone over to zombies to complete the Easter egg through a guided mode. I just don't see it being something realistic that people would be like, oh, finally, somebody's going to handhold me through the Easter egg. I'm just going to go play that instead of playing Warzone multiplayer. Especially when this is going to be a couple weeks after launch and after the main quests have been solved is when this mode hits the books. If they don't market this right or advertise it correctly, I don't even see this mode being used at all. And that just detracts from the game. They could have spent their time, building better narrative or anything else rather than giving data miners a step-by-step guide on completing the Easter egg. And not having this available at launch worries me a lot about if people are actually even going to play the mode. I know people who make YouTube videos like myself, I'm definitely going to explore it when it comes out. But the 95% of players that didn't complete the D-Machine Easter egg probably aren't even going to know that this mode's in the game until a few months into launch. And then even then, are they going to play it to just get a hand-holded walkthrough of an Easter egg that's already been solved? I don't know. I don't know what to say on that one. Next, we have that it's going to detract from the actual mode itself. Now, being walked through a zombies Easter egg is going to take away from the experience that zombies is in general. The mode repeats rounds until you've gotten a step done. It's going to be a much easier experience and playthrough. The game's going to tell you exactly how to do it. And I feel like there's not going to be any focus on actually staying alive and not being, there's not going to be much focus on staying alive and fighting the hordes of the undead. Which at its core, the core mechanic and gameplay of zombies is to kill the freaking zombies. And without that being a worry, I don't know if people are going to be interested in zombies after having played this. Again, it comes back down to when are people going to play this? Is this going to be their first experience with zombies, is playing the guided mode when it comes out? If so, I don't really see a draw to actually playing the legitimate version of zombies, which is supposed to be difficult, which is supposed to be focused on staying alive at its core, and then doing these extra steps while not dying. So I think it's really going to take a lot from the zombies mode itself. And that's worrisome. A big part of why we all started playing zombies in the first place is killing the hordes of the undead is fun. Look at World at War. We really had one Easter egg in the 4th map that came out. And the rest of it was just don't die. It's difficult. So if they take away from that, I don't know if people are going to actually enjoy playing the mode. And I don't think it's going to get more people on the game. Next, there's really no need for any tutorials on the internet if there's just going to be a guided mode. And I know this is more YouTuber specific, and it's not something that really matters to the 95% that are going to be playing this mode. But a big part of growing up in this community and playing zombies for the last 10 to 12 years was watching our favorite YouTubers solve these Easter eggs, was watching the tutorials over and over and over until we figured out how to do the Easter egg ourselves. It's having the spreadsheets saved. It's all of that is part of the zombies experience. And I don't think that Treyarch taking all of that away from the zombies YouTuber community is a good thing for the community in general. I think a lot of the love and a lot of the love of zombies and becoming a hardcore fan was getting into the YouTube tutorials and watching the narrative videos from Milo and watching Noah go for the Easter egg world first, like all of that is an experience that I think brought me further into the zombies mode and made me a bigger fan. And it's going to take away from that. There's going to be people that figure out that there's a main story narrative that the mode is trying to push. And instead of going to a, no nonsense guide for the very first time, they're going to be just clicking on guided mode and having Call of Duty teach it for them, which I think it removes people from the overall community. It removes their discussion from the community. And I think that it detracts from it as a whole. I think without the zombies YouTube community, there wouldn't really be a zombies community. Next, I don't think it's going to be very fun. Like, plain and simply, even if you're not a good player, I don't think you're going to have fun going through something that walks you through how to do a main quest at a much, much duller level. I mean, repeating rounds in a mode that already takes forever to play anyways is going to take the fun out of zombies. And people are going to be like, why in the world do people care so much about the Easter eggs? It's not even fun, because they're going to be playing this guided mode that is hand-holding you to the bitter end and making everything way too easy. I don't think I've ever played a video game that's directly explained how to play it and how to beat it and enjoyed the experience. I mean, if Call of Duty and Treyarch would just take a look at FromSoft and Dark Souls and see the absolute incredible success that those games have had, and then look at the fact that the game doesn't give you any direction, it doesn't give you any help, it definitely just forces you to get good at the game, and it becomes the most rewarding experience there is. And that's how zombies has kind of felt from the beginning. Is there was no instructions on completing anything. There were no, like, they didn't even tell us that there were Easter eggs. It was just something that we figured out. And that's what got people to become raving fans of this mode. And I just don't think that walking people through and holding their hands while they do it is going to be fun at its core for the user. Next, we have a less memorable narrative. So I did say that it could be a better narrative over on the pros section, but I do think it's going to be less memorable. I mean, when the experience is not something that you really earned, it's not something that you worked towards, it's just something that's being force-fed to you, you're not very likely to retain that information. You see it a lot in your daily life with things that you work hard for and that you push yourself for are undeniably more memorable than the stuff that's just given to you. I mean, I don't remember anything that somebody's just been like, here, have this, as being super memorable. Whereas stuff that I've genuinely put my blood, sweat, and tears in and worked for are the things that I remember. And they're the stories that I want to tell. And like with zombies, if you don't have to work for it, why is there, you won't care. Like, I don't see anybody caring about the narrative if it's going to be something that they didn't have to work for. So I do think it's going to be a little bit less memorable. And finally, I know that they're going to be less complex Easter egg steps because it's something that has to be easily explained in a walkthrough mode. Over on Milo's channel, he had a podcast recently with somebody that deals a lot with the Destiny raids. And they were talking about a Destiny raid step and how complex it was, but how fun it was to complete. And then they really talked about how that's not something that's going to be possible in the Easter eggs for this game because they have to design it in a way that it could be easily explained in a walked through mode. I think that the complexity and just the brain power that's going to be required for the Easter egg steps in this is going to be at a minimum so that somebody can read it on screen or listen to a narrator tell them what to do in game and it doesn't make sense. Like, if you tried to explain the obelisk step from 9 to somebody in a narrative form or an on-screen text form, just describing what the symbols are and what they translate to, it wouldn't make any sense. I think it would be so hard to follow along with that. And so something like the obelisk step or appeasing Ra, if you will, we're not going to see anything like that in this game. I just think it's going to be way too complex. And I don't think it's going to be something that they're going to put in the game just so that they can make this mode make more sense to the player. And I don't think the player base for this is going to be very high. So I'm a little worried that this mode is going to take away from the overall experience that we're going to have solving the Easter eggs in this game. I think that Treyarch does want these to be harder to solve than Cold War, but I also think that this mode is going to force them into a direction that's just like Cold War. I think that the Easter eggs are going to pretty much walk themselves through not in the regular mode because it's not going to be something super complex that we have to solve. I don't think that there's going to be any ciphers that we have to solve in order to complete this. It's not something that they're going to put into a guided mode. And unfortunately, I just don't think we're going to get any of that in the regular hunt because the guided mode exists. And that's for main quest. I'm sure there's going to be some side quests and some other little hidden Easter eggs that are going to have ciphers and some pretty complex stuff because that's what Treyarch does. But as far as the main quest is concerned, it has to fit in the ability of this guided Easter egg mode. So unfortunately, I do think that the Easter eggs are going to be quite a bit less complex than we're used to. Those are some of my main talking points with this, and I think overall this mode's going to be a negative for the game. I really like to be optimistic about Treyarch, and I really like to be optimistic about Call of Duty and zombies because I love zombies so much. But I really think that the cons that they're risking with this mode heavily outweigh the pros. I think that getting people, new players, interested in zombies, great. Do I think this is the way that they should do that? Absolutely not. I mean, other than that, really, I don't think that there's anything else that would be a pro. I mean, the pros are fine, but none of those are like really driving me to want to play this mode and want to have this mode in the game. Whereas the cons, especially the data mining con, are making me really worried that this is even in the game. But I think the cons heavily outweigh the pros on this one. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I know it was kind of an information dump and just my thoughts coming out in video form. But I'm really worried about this, and I want to know if you guys are too. If you did like this video, let me know. Leave a like on the video. Hit subscribe if you want more crazy information like this. If you like being info dumped and trauma dumped like this. And we'll see you for the next one. We do have Black Ops 6 coming out in just a couple of days. I am still very excited despite these concerns that are right here. And I will be playing Liberty Falls at launch. Granted, I'll be working on launch day, but it's okay. I'm still going to be creating content. I'm going to give some tutorials and my overall thoughts on the game for sure. And maybe some other fun creative stuff. We'll see. But let me know in the comment section below what you think of this. I am Cyclops, and I will see you at Black Ops 6 launch. Thanks.